So let's go. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. All right, so music is basically um, time and vibration. It's time and oscillation, basically, which is what the universe is made up of. But
Right.
ultimately, like a vibration is just is something that happens like regularly. It's something that kind of goes back and forth or a pulse, right? So we have rhythm.
Right.
You're walking right now, you're walking with a certain tempo, a certain speed. And as we know, time is relative. It's relative, the speed that you're walking is relative to the motion of the earth around the sun. It's relative to the length of a day. We have days that we call 24 hours, and then we divided up the time it takes for the planet to spin around, and then we cut that all the way down into seconds. And
Mm.
it's all really relative. Like I wonder if you sped up the brain really, really fast, if you'd experience time like really, really slow, or if you way slow down the brain, that you'd experience time really, really fast. I've had experiences like that where like, especially with certain types um of psychedelics, I think like mostly I've experienced this with DMT, that like
Mm.
I've experienced it speed up, like it's like you hit fast forward on my life and everything just sped up. And so I just have this idea that time is actually like very relative. Like a mosquito probably experiences time a little bit different than an elephant. And
Mm.
so yeah, anyways, that's one thing is that music is just time. It's all relative. We can always divide finer and finer and finer and make the vibrations closer and closer together. And we could also make them farther and farther apart.
Mm.
Um, but everything is rhythm and everything is has everything is vibration and rhythm basically. So we go down to a second and then we have, tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, some sort of regularity.
Mm.
And if we speed up that pulse, we're just starting with a pulse, like a basic da 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 da. If we speed that up, let's say we double it, we're going da 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 da. Then we speed it up again, da 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 da. And if we keep doubling, eventually that pulse, if we speed up a rhythmic pulse, it eventually becomes pitch. And it's at
Mm.
about 20 oscillations per second that the human ear registers pitch as opposed to a rhythm, right? I can't count 20 times in 1 second. I can count like one Mississippi two. I can count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I could probably do like 5 beats a second. I could count in my head like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But once it gets to 20, that starts to register as a tone. So
Mm.
once that happens, let's go. Wait, hold on. I have some nifty stuff here. Uh, this website is awesome, by the way. It's called muted.io. I found it recently. It's got all kinds of really fun little cool music tools.
It looks really awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so once that happens, um, we have a tone. And I don't know if this is registering. Oh yeah, it's so low that my computer can't hear it, but it's playing a tone.
Mm.
So once we speed up and we get around to 20, it becomes registered as pitch, and then we have like a vibration. It's frequency. It's like certain amount of vibrations per second, right? So I go oh, and like my vocal folds are vibrating, and as we know, we
Mm.
go oh, like pitch becomes higher and higher all the way up until about 20,000 hertz. That's when we can't hear it anymore. But like
Mm.
dogs and other things can. Um, so where music comes from is basically this is just we're not going to hear it all well unless maybe if I do this. So this without not actually listening. So basically, this right here is just showing a vibration, just one of those vibrations. So this one right here is just think of like a guitar string, right? Here's the top of the neck and here's the bridge, and it's vibrating
Mm.
back and forth. When you cut it in half, you half the wavelength, right? The length of the wave has now halved, and it now vibrates twice as fast. So we've doubled the speed. So if we started at 110 hertz, then we double it, we go to 220. And this relationship here, when you double it, is what's known in the music theory scale as an octave. So
Oh, okay.
so when you go from like a note on a like from a C to a C on the piano, the reason that those two notes sound the same is because you've doubled the frequency. So if you go from a
Mm.
C to a C to a C to a C to a C, like going up the scale, you're just doubling every time.
Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah, so from the relationship between those two is an octave, and the reason that they line up is because for every if I sing this note and if I could hold that and sing another one on top of it the reason they line up is because the vibrations literally are like reaching your ear like while one is reaching, then two of this one are reaching. It's like if waves on the ocean are breaking, for every one wave breaking, there's on this from this side, there's two waves breaking from this side at the exact same time, and they're lining up perfectly. So that's why it sounds nice. But then in the middle of that, um you have this one. So let's see. I'm gonna turn this volume all the way down. So what happens if instead of times two, we do times three? And this just gives you kind of a visual. So now you're looking at, here's our initial tone. This one with two is the octave. And then what happens if we have the relationship where we have one doing three vibrations and another one doing two? Well, what's happening there is they're still lining up. Like if you repeated this thing like to the side infinity times, and then you like sent it towards your ear, so that like it's arriving to you directionally this way. Those waves are lining up, like the crests are lining up at a certain point. And so basically what's happening is your so you have the octave, the relationship between one and two. The relationship from two to three is known as what's called a perfect fit. On the guitar, it sounds like this. So it's oh wait, one sec. So stop these. So that's a fifth. Dun, 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 dun. Can you hear it? So here's the octave together. Oh, that was kind of bad. Here's an octave, right? Here's the fifth. So if I play all three of those together, we start to hear like a chord, and this is a power chord. This is like rock and roll chords. So so you have like those relationships. They're mathematical relationships. And then if we go from three to four vibrations, so one for every three vibrations of one, you're getting four vibrations of another. That relationship is called, in the music theory world, it's called a fourth. And that one is like this. So we have the octave, we have the fifth, and then we have the fourth. Um, and then we have, and then if we keep going, we have a major third, we have a minor third. So all of these relationships of just you have two notes, two vibrations happening at the same time, they start to have like a feeling about them. Like this one and this one. This one's like happy, or like, and this one starts to feel like, oh, that's kind of a weird, I don't know if I like that. It's kind of scary. And then, so, so these different relationships between notes then start to construct chords. So that what we just talked about was like the harmonic series, and it just shows how it starts to like get our brain to understand like where music kind of comes from. It's literally just like vibrations and speeds like relative to each other, and when things line up, we say they're in harmony. And it's not just like because our ear makes it so. It's like literally those vibrations are lining up at the same time mathematically, like they fit together nicely. Um, and then I'll try to download this for you into your brain. So, do you want to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm enjoying myself.
Cool.
Mm.
Um, so let's go. Okay, so basically, we'll look at a piano for a second. Um, Piano chords. All right, so here's a piano. So basically, what all of music did, it took a long time for us to arrive to have this, but basically we took that relationship of just times two, right? We have one wave, one frequency, and then we have another one times two. And then just like how we took the hours in a day or the hours in a night, we took the day and we chunked it into 12 pieces. We did the same with just music, going from how long does it take to get from one to two, basically, and then two to four. And are you a math guy at all?
Um, not really.
Just the thing about pitch, how it works is it's not like linear. It's more exponential or logarithmic, meaning like
Mm.
if this is 100 hertz, right? If this frequency is going 100 times a second, this one's 200, and this one's 400. Even though we've stepped up, we've gone up 12 steps to get this, and then another 12 to get this. It's doubled twice. So it's like the curve is like this, frequency wise. But so here's the C, here's the octave, and then here's the fifth. Here's the fourth, and here's the third, major third, and here's the minor third. So the reason that all those kind of have a specific sound and sound nice is because it's literally just like the mathematics I was showing you. If we multiply one, times two, there. If we multiply it by, um, the ratio between two and three, right? Which would be what's two divided by three. Like if I multiply by that ratio, I get to here. So, um, so then all we did was we were like, okay, let's cut it into 12 pieces, and now we have 9, 10, 11, 12, and then back to where we are. So it's just like that's it. That's all of music. Like unless you're in the Indian scales where they have like in between notes, they have like quarter tones and they're going in between the notes. This is it. This is all of music. Like all the music that we listen to is just these 12 notes. It's just like repeated. It's like a wheel and it repeats up the scale a few times. Um, and then after that, so how's your brain? Are you catching this?
Yeah, I'm getting a decent grasp, I think.
Okay, cool. So we just said let's cut it up into 12 equal pieces to go from that one frequency to the two frequency, basically, to double it. Um, how many times can I speed this up, incrementally to here. And um oh yeah. So then but we figured out that for some reason, and I don't know why, that it's kind of cool how this all lines up. Like there's 12 notes total, but then there's 7 notes that make up what we call the diatonic scale. So if I play all the white keys, there's only 7 and then it repeats. So there's 7 notes and then it restarts, right? And we know this goes like you've heard that, right?
Yeah.
So that scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, is that scale like is basically all of music. It just starts in different, like that's the pattern. Da da da
Mm,
da 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 da.
mm,
And with different types of music, we're kind of jumping in and outside of that main scale. But ultimately, like 90% of all the music that we listen to just falls within those notes.
mm.
Now, I can start from a different place, right? If I start from here, whoops, right? But I'm maintaining just the distance between those notes. So just to recap what I just explained to make it simple, right? Because some of it gets a little when I start explaining in a bunch of different ways, it gets a little crazy.
It's
But
all good.
here's a C. It has a vibration. That's why it sounds the way. Let's just say it's probably a couple hundred vibrations a second, but let's just when we go from C to the next or any note to the next same note, it doubles it.
Mm,
As music, we just split that. If like I can go from here and I can slide up the scale. Oh, oh. But if I want to go in equal increments, right?
mhm,
Then I'm taking just 12 steps. And like instead of a ramp, it's like stairs. Da, 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 da. So
Ah.
yeah, so then we have 12 notes, right? Because some of those frequencies are going to line up. So what we figured out is if we divide it by 12 and just hit those, the relationships between the notes like sound good. And what we figured out is that when you make this sequence and of these 7 notes, which I'm going to show you in a second, the 7 notes out of the 12, then generally those notes sound good together because it preserves the relationships that we talked about before, the relationships of 1 to 2, of 2 to 3, of 3 to 4, of 4 to 5. These resonant things where things are lining up, the sound frequencies are lining up together. So what we did, and you'll notice on the piano that there's 7 white keys and there's 5 black keys. So just for ease of access, if we're playing in the key of C, which is the one right before the first of the 2 black keys, then we go. So when we go up and we hit all of the notes, just climbing up the piano, those like 12 incremental steps, the 12 stairs, um, those 12 stairs from one stair to the next, we call the in the music world they call it a half step or a semitone. And if we step up instead of one stair, if we step up 2 stairs, like I skip a stair, then we call it a whole step. So if I'm going from there's since there's a black key inside between the two, then I've gone right. I skipped the one in between. But E to F, the half step. So it's just for convenience that like the black keys are there the way they are. Um, because that like that's but the so the distance between an F here and F and F sharp is the same. Um,
Hmm.
so so the sequence for all of these that makes the do re mi fa sol la ti do is if we start from C it goes whole half whole half. Make sense?
Just so I understand, so um, going from a white key to a black key would be a half step.
Yeah, if going from
Okay.
any key to the one next to it, it doesn't matter if it's white or black. Just going from
Oh,
any
okay.
key for the one to the one right next to it is a half step, and going
Got you.
any key to like two over. If
Mm.
there's a black key, it doesn't matter. Like from E, right? E to F is
Uh,
a step. E to F sharp is a whole step,
got you.
right?
Okay.
G to
Cool.
A is a whole step. Um, G to G sharp is a half step. So it just doesn't matter if they're black or white. Like if we just like if you notice at the top of like if you look at a keyboard, like this side of it, you'll actually see that like this top side, these distances are actually like the same. Like the keys on that side, if you hid like this here, if you did like this. If you look at a keyboard and you just looked at this and then you made them all white, like they're all pretty much the same width basically. But yeah, so and that's more relative like like we don't have black and white on the guitar frets. It's just like da 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 da, Um but so going up the frets one by one is the same as going up all the black and white keys of the keyboard, just like that. Um, but that scale, that pattern, that sequence, like if you can remember that whole half, whole half. I just remember it's two and then it's three. It's two whole steps, a half step, then it's three whole steps and a half step. I think about it like I make up silly things. I think about it like there's a little baby caterpillar that has like two, and then there's like a mama caterpillar that has three, and the baby's following the mama. That's why I tell the kids, but it works. It works for my brain. So it's just like you're doing two larger jumps and then one small and then three larger jumps and then one small. And that's your major scale right there. And then if we take the same scale but instead of starting on the one, instead of starting there, I'm preserving the exact same scale, but instead of starting at the beginning, because the whole thing just repeats, right, forever, I'm going to start at number six instead. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I take the same scale, the same sequence, whole, half, whole, half, but I start at number six, I'm going, I'm going whole, half, whole. It's the same scale. We're just starting at a different spot inside of it. And so if I play that, it sounds different. And that's the minor scale. So the minor and the major scale are actually the same. They're just starting at a different spot. It's just like it's the same pattern. I'm starting here for the major, I'm starting here for the minor. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then all we have to do is if we want to make a chord, chords are just we're just leapfrogging within those seven. So the chord is just right, A. Or you could say right, and then we say because we just counted one, two, we go seven, and then we just number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And those numbers is what gave us the relationships that I explained earlier. The one is a fifth, and the fraction The reason it sounds good is because it's the numbers get a little weird here because you have to, like, we're using a system to just say the number of the notes in the scale, and then I can talk about the vibrations and literally what's happening, right? The relationship between two together is a fifth, and it sounds nice because for every two beats of one vibrationally, there's three beats of the other, and it sounds nice. So one, two, six, seven, eight. So if I want to play a chord, I play one, or I play two, four, and six, or I play three, five, and seven, right? So those basic chords, when we play it on a guitar, we just it's like a two-dimensional experience here rather than a one-dimensional line on the piano. Like this is a C chord, my guitar's out of tune, but this is a C chord. But the C chord only has C, E, and G. Those three notes. They were just like repeated. So when you do it on the guitar, we have an E here, we have a C here, we have another E, we have a G, we have another C, and then an E. So it's just like a combination of literally those three notes, but it's only three, right? We're repeating some. We've got two C's, on a different octave, but it's just those three. Same with any major chord. It's just three notes. And we got those three notes because we just leapfrogged the major scale and picked 1, 3, and 5. But the thing about this is that if I'm in a scale, so this is where things get kind of cool and interesting and really useful for songwriting. So if I'm in a scale, and this is where you'll want to pay attention because this will help with songwriting for sure. So I don't know if you've heard this stuff before, or like has a lot of this refresher for you, or is it brand new?
A lot of it's brand new.
Okay, cool. How is it settling? Because I know I'm going pretty fast. Like it's probably feeling like you're like drinking out of a fire hose, but is it landing?
Yeah, it's a good fire hose.
Right on.
Um, yeah,
You good?
yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna see if I can get it. I'm gonna see if I can deliver it in the next minute or so, and then we'll yeah. So C, E, and G. This is a major chord. It's a
Mhm.
major because this first relationship here is a major third. We just know that because we started on C, playing a major scale, and we played the one and the third and the three in the major scale.
Mhm.
But this relationship here from C to is a minor third. So we have two types, right? We have major and minor, which you know, right? Um,
Mhm.
Major is happy, minor is sad. So we know that a chord, a basic chord, not getting into sevenths or anything like that, a basic chord is just three notes, and we've just leave major. So if I do C, E, and G, this first relationship between the C and the E, one and the three, is called a major third, and I've gone up one, two, three, four half steps to get from C. I go C. That's a major third, right? I can do that from
Mhm.
anywhere else on the piano. I can go from an F sharp and I go one, two, three, four half steps, and that's that same relationship. The same way if I do it on the guitar, here's my one, here's my one, and here's my three. I can put it here, I can do it here, I can do it here, I can do it here, and that relationship is the same. So
Mhm.
it's this relationship, the distance between the notes is really what defines the quality of how the chord sounds. So if I do this chord, this the and the relationship between the first half of the chord from the C to the E is a major third, also four half steps up the piano. But then from the C to the G, it's three half steps.
Mhm.
And the three half steps is a minor third. So if I'm going 4 half steps from any note to the next note, it's a major third. If I'm going 3 half steps to any note, it's a minor third.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, what makes a major chord? What makes a major chord? The major triad, right? The when we just leap from the major scale, um, is it goes major third, minor third. Whatever the first interval is the what the name of the chord has, right? It goes major, minor. So we go from major third up to E, major third up to G, and that is. I wonder if I can. I wonder if this will let like. Oh, here we go. So okay. This is helpful. There's the C. There's the C major. Okay. But now, if I take the one in the middle, this third, and I flat, and I just flat the third. So now the relationship between the first note and the second note of the chord is a minor third. So
Hmm.
we've diminished the relationship from 1 to 3 is now a minor third, but it's made the D to the G is a major third. So now the chord is minor third, major third instead of major third, minor third. Make sense?
Yeah.
All we did is we just went here and we flatted the third. So now it's, and that is the difference between major minor. We have 1, 3, and 5, and we just flat the third. That's it. So,
Nice.
so here's, right? If I do here, then I have which one's the third? And the E. Right? So we're just flatting that middle note. So far, you know that even though on the guitar there's 6 notes happening or so at any given time, it's really just three, just repeated, and we have to use these little shapes to like get that figured out. And then you know that a major chord is it goes major third, minor third, and if we just flat the three, then it makes it the relationship in that chord from minor third to major third. The fifth, right? Because we're playing 1, 3. The fifth is called a perfect fifth because whether you're playing in major or minor, it's the same, right? This C to the G. You're always a C and a G. The C major has a G in it, and the C minor has a G in it. So that E goes to it. So that's pretty much it. I have one more nugget of like solid dopeness that I can drop on you before we go if you'd like, or we can just sign off.
Oh, absolutely. I will not say no, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk through real quick the notes on the keyboard, and I'm gonna have you like tell me what type of chord it is. Okay, so
Okay.
we're starting from C.
Reminder.
Yeah, we're starting
Okay.
from C, and so we know first we're using the C major scale. And the C major is just easy because it's all the white keys. It just makes it really convenient. And we know that the major scale, we found that because from any given note, we just started from a note and then we went whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, right? This is the major pattern.
Mhm.
And so it's already made for us, right? Each if there's a black key between, it's a whole step. If there's no black key, it's a half step. But I can actually, you could go sit at a piano and you could figure it out for any key, right? You could just start here at this sharp, and then I could go up. Oh, okay, I know it's first whole step, so I'm gonna go up to this one, then whole step, then half step, then whole step, then whole step, then half, right? And then, oh, cool. Those are the notes that I'm gonna use in the key of F sharp, right? So all I did right there is I just superimposed that pattern, and then I went and figured out which one it was. And then I could go into that and be like, oh, okay, you know, I'm gonna just go mark those keys with like a little piece of tape, and now I know if I want to play an F sharp major chord, I'm gonna play this note, that one, right?
Hmm.
So it
Mhm.
just like unlocks, that. Like you just have to go, in terms of playing the piano, you want to go memorize all 12 keys basically, but it's just like anyone could go sit down and figure that out because they know this pattern.
Nice.
Um, so you have a C major, and this is the C major scale. And we have the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C. Um, I'm actually going to go like this. And I'm just going to number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there. So now we already know that the first chord is what type of chord, major or minor?
First chord, major.
It's major, right? I'm going to do big M.
Right.
Okay, so we know, right? C, G, it's major. And we know that because we had 4 half steps here. I can hear it, right? I'm sure you can probably hear whether a chord is major or minor. But if we wanted to go
Mm.
logically figure it out, we'd be like, oh, okay, it's 4 half, three. I know that C to E is the major, and then E to G has 3 half steps, so it's a minor. Major comes first, so it's a major chord. Got it. Okay, so now if I go from D to F,
Well, that'd be minor.
yes, A would be minor. Then if I did G, sorry, E to G, which is what is that one?
Also minor.
It's also a minor. If I wanted to play an major, what would be the third note that I would play? What would be the middle note?
Or a minor scale.
If I wanted to play an E minor, like we already know this
Ah,
E major, yeah, we know this is E minor, right? If I wanted to play an E major chord, which one would I switch?
um, let me see.
Remember the E, or just the E, where's the E
I
minor?
think I would do the F sharp instead of the G. Or
Be the G sharp.
G sharp. Oh, okay.
You're on the right track. Here's the E
Nice.
minor. Here's the E minor, right? And remember,
Hmm.
since we're in minor, we gotta sharp the third, not flat it, because we've already flatted to make the minor. Um,
Ah, okay.
so the E major, there's the E major. So we just remember the
Interesting.
sharp is the minor comes first, and then the major. I'm sorry, the minor is first, and then if we want to make it major, it has to be the bigger interval, the major or half step interval first, so that third note gets sharped by one, right? So let me just explain that because that got a little weird. Just so you, here's the minor, here's the right. We see 3 half steps from the E to the G, 4 half steps from the G to the B, and then if I do the E major, we see 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps from the E to the G sharp or A flat, and then 3 half steps from the G sharp A flat to the B.
Got
Cool. Okay, so now the next one, F.
it. If are you trying to make it major or minor?
Well, I've just played I'm just going up the scale. I'm asking you which one it is. So I'm
Oh,
still in the scale of C major. So I'm starting from the fourth and then just leapfrogging. You tell me, is it major or minor?
uh, that. Can you play it one more time?
Yeah.
Mhm. Major, right? Yeah. Cool.
Major?
Yeah.
Right on. Correctamundi. Okay, here's G.
Nice. Yeah, major as well.
Yep. All right, here's A.
I'd say minor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to guess either because you know A to C, one, two, three half, right? And then I'll just play the minor. Here's that. You can hear it too when you hear them all together. Minor. Okay, and then we have B. We're going from the B and we're leapfrogging up the notes. Um, B, E, F.
Hmm, gotcha.
Do you have a guess as to which one this is? Huh?
Just three half steps each, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
so the three half steps for each is a different chord because remember the major is four and then three, and the minor is three and then four. So, right,
Uh,
major, major third, minor is minor third, major third. But we have this one, we have two minor thirds, and it's different. This is a diminished chord.
oh, okay.
So a diminished chord, right? So here I'll just explain. Yeah, diminished is the B, and so in terms of chords, right? We have a major, we have a minor, we have a diminished, we have an augmented. The major,
Okay.
in terms of, I'm just gonna, this number is gonna represent the number of half steps. The major goes four and then three. The minor goes three and then four. The diminished goes three and then three, and the augmented goes four and then four.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
so yeah. So this sequence that we just came up with, right? And I'll just put the numbers down here. This is showing us that in any major scale, right? The one chord is a major, the two chords a minor, the three chords a minor, the four is a major, the five is a major, the six is a minor, the seven is a diminished, and then we're back to major. So I have those chords to work with. The diminished is used a little bit. I'll show you a song where it's used. It's
Yeah.
not often that people write using that chord, but it happens sometimes. So you could use it there. It sounds easier on the piano too. I wouldn't use it there because I would just go 5 1 instead. But you could do that. And that's why in context the diminished chord you can use going back into the root because it just leads right back into it. That's a good time to use it if you're ever writing. But what's cool is about this scale is like this is true. So for any scale. So all I have to do now, this like any major, if I'm writing in a major key, I know that my one chord's a major, my two is a minor, my three is a minor, my four is a major, five is a major, six is a minor, seven is diminished, right? So we have these patterns here. We have the whole half. I could go like this. Oh, you know what I could do? I could go like this. There. So now what this is showing is, oh no, you know what? I'm gonna put it here. That's less confusing. So it's showing here's C major, the one chord, and then this is showing right here the interval between each one. Um, so all I would have to do if I was playing in another key is like, okay, here's right. I'm gonna start from the D sharp, and then I'm gonna use the whole half whole half to find which keys I'm using. So here's F, whole step to F sharp, whole step to A sharp, whole step to E, whole step to E, half step to D.
Yeah.
So there's my major scale. Um,
Okay.
and then if I just right here's D to G, 1, 2, 3, that D major, and then I can do F minor. Oops. So it's like you're seeing that there's two different ways to approach it because I can figure out what the notes are in the piano, and I know I'm only using those 7 notes, right? And we just figured out like if I'm just going up the scale and I leapfrog the notes starting from 1, starting from 2, starting from 3, it gives me these. But if I wanted to like do it on the guitar, for instance, I don't have black and white keys. So what's nice about the guitar is I can just slide everything around. That's why a capo works. I can just put a capo here and I can play the same shapes, but now I'm playing in a different key. That would be if I tried to slide up the piano by 1 fret as I did on the guitar, all my shapes start to change because the black keys are in a different spot. But what's cool on the guitar is like now all you have to know, like really all you have to know. I'll just show you this too. I'm enjoying this, man. I like love talking about this stuff, so I'm glad to. I hope this
I'm
helps you.
and I love hearing when people talk about their passions, dude. And,
Yeah, man.
um, this is great.
Yeah, good. And if you have questions in the future, this will be awesome too because I'll post it on the the Facebook page for people to see. So I'm gonna go to the guitar real quick now. There we go. And I want to see. Okay. So this is the C major scale, and actually I think there's a better one we can use that'll help us. I want guitar. I want guitar scales. Wait, maybe this will work. Hold on. Scale finder. No, I want the guitar one. Guitar fretboard. There's another one in here that is guitar scales. Here we go. Okay, so all right, so we'll just go with C. Actually, no, we're gonna do G. G major, and I'm just gonna section off this little portion of the fretboard. Okay, um, so in G major, if we went through the whole thing and did the whole half thing, starting from G, we figure out it's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Um, and this is what that looks like. The first G on the fretboard is the 3rd fret, right? So when you play a G chord, the root of that chord is that one there. Okay. So what's cool, here's where this really starts to apply to songwriting. And since you use the guitar, you can apply this. And I recommend this website too because you're probably not going to like remember everything, but if you use it, you will remember it and you'll like, you know, it'll work. So I remember this box right here, just this little area here. Can you see that I highlighted that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this box is just, it's an easy shape for me to remember. And this gives us the first six of the scale. So it's the G A B C D E, and I can slide this up and down the neck to play in different keys, right? But I just remember that it's an easy shape to remember because you just have the space. It's equal. You have the space between each, so it's like this, and that's the major scale. If I do that anywhere, starting from either this. I can actually do it on any note, starting from any note on anywhere on these three strings. I can play that shape of those six notes, and it'll work, right? Once we get to this section, things start to change a little bit because the relationship between these two notes or these two strings is different. But okay, so now what I'm gonna do is if I know that these six notes are in my scale. So if I'm playing in the key of G, here's my G, and I just play this shape. That's it. So there's that, and now I know that each of those notes has a chord associated with it. And so if I follow this thing right here that we figured out, I know it goes major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. And I know playing this, I know it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now all I need to know is the shapes associated with each of those notes. And there's the two shapes that you know very well. It's that you have the E shape and the A shape. So we have E and E minor, and then we have A and A minor. And they're very similar shapes, right? They're just like A minor and E are basically the same, but but moved vertically. So when I play an E chord, the root is this E here, and when I play an A chord, the one is right here, comes right before. So if I play bar chords, I know that I have a major here. I go 2 frets up. I have a minor here. I have a minor here. I have a major here. I have a major here. And then I have a minor here. So now I have 6 quality chords that I can just mess around with and, fuck around and find out. So like, and what's crazy is like 99% of music that we hear and listen to literally falls into that box. What we're doing, what's so important, and because it's really important to come out of the box too and like be able to go around it. But as a foundational principle, if I'm going outside of that and I'm playing like, you know, I can always come back home. So like knowing this is the structure, right? And it's literally just this. And when we want to do the minor, we're just starting from number 6. So it's the same thing, just starting from 6 and going up. 6 becomes 1. So it takes a little study to get the minor, but what's cool is now you have that. If you come to this website, like, so if you take this little pattern here, you'll start to see this in all the songs that you're playing, and you'll start to see it in numbers, because you're just like, oh, it really helps me to start to visualize this in a dimensional way, because I always know now that this is 1. If I call this chord 1, this is 4, and this is 5, right? And I know this is 2, and this is 3, and this is 6. So I know one, four, and five are major, two, three, and six are minor. It almost has like a little yin yang shape, right? So yeah. So that's like that is music theory, all of it in a nutshell. Like that's like the whole that's the structure. And all we're doing is like going around, you know, like we just we started from here's a frequency, we double the frequency, we go from one note to the next, 100 hertz to 200 hertz. Let's cut it into 12 pieces, we make 12 steps. We figured out if we use 7 of those 12 steps and I walk up the scale with that whole half pattern, it preserves the most amount of pleasing relationships between the notes. And then we figured out if I leapfrog every other note, it makes these nice sounding chords that go together. And then I figured out that when I leapfrog every other note using that pattern, it makes a series going major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. And so I can now understand that, study that, and use it to unlock a song and also to reverse engineer everything because I know it all generally falls within that. So basically my program in terms of understanding music as a language is like training people's ears so that they can recognize pitch and recognize the scale, which most of us who play naturally already have really good ears because we've had to learn to use that. And then practicing timing. So timing and pitch and just drills to like get those things really solid, and then learning this, which is the structure side of it, so that we're approaching it from two sides. And those are those three pieces are the kind of trifecta of developing musical fluency. Because then all I have to do once I'm practicing scales a little bit, and I can listen to any song. I'll just demonstrate. I'll just pick some random song. I don't know who. Okay, here's Rob Parker. Let's just play this. Literally what I'm saying is like just by hearing, like my ears recognizing the relationships between those notes, I play one note, I realize if it sounds good or not, I can slide up or down one because we always know that like I'm one step away from a right note. And then I'm just kind of like, oh, now I know. Now I've found home in that. And now I also automatically, because I know these are the notes, and I know the thing that I just showed you, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. I'm just superimposing the chord shapes that I know are associated with, because I played. This is just the D shape, right? If I put a bar there. So I'm literally just superimposing those whether it's a major or minor shape, and whether the root's on this string, this string, this string, or this string. That knowledge doesn't take that long to figure out. Like there's not that many things to memorize, and then you're just like boom, I can just listen and follow into any song, and then also just write songs that are like melodically pleasing and arrive to various things. So, do you have any questions? Because I know I was just kind of like giving you a lot.
Um, so I've noticed when you were doing like scales in the guitar, were you doing like 1 4 5 and 2 3 6 when you were just like free balling?
When I was
Um,
freeballing on the song that I played,
so earlier, um, my brain is a bit fried, but it's in a good way. Yeah, like earlier, so I'm seeing like whole half, whole half. and then below that it's major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to correlate. So um so that's just a scale versus like the numeric pattern, or how do those things? Can you
Yeah.
explain like how those things connect again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the what's really cool is this website is it also just shows it out for you on a chart.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so if you ever need, you can just come in here and if you're like, oh, I'm in the key of E, this is major scales. Here's all the notes, and it's showing you up top a capital Roman numeral means a major, and a lowercase Roman numeral means a minor. So they have major,
Gotcha.
minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. So the what the whole and half steps are referring to is basically here. I'll put them here. That might make it easier. The whole and half steps refer to the distance from one note to the next within the scale.
Gotcha.
The major and minor refer to the chord type when we use right when we leapfrog the notes.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is just showing, this now it's kind of hard to see, but like from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, it's just this is the pattern between the notes, right? Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So that's what that means,
Uh,
right? That's just showing us we use that pattern to determine what are the seven notes that we are using. And then if I go in and I use the seven notes and I start from 1 and I know that all I need to do to make a chord is just leapfrog the notes when once I figure out what the seven notes are, I just am leapfrogging, right? 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, 7, whatever. And then we went through together and we figured out, we just mapped it out. We went, okay, if I do the first one, it happens to be a minor chord. Second happens to be, or sorry, first one happens to be a major. Second minor, third minor, um, four major, and so on. So the major and minor is referring to the quality of the chord. The whole steps and half steps is a tool to find the pattern of the scale.
gotcha.
Yeah. Yep.
Gotcha.
And the number
Awesome.
is just like, cool, I pick one and then just like, here's the seven. And then eight, when people say like a sharp eight, now you know like a little bit more because when people say like, trippy chord qualities, you get into sevenths. Sevenths is just like, all a seventh chord is you add in the seven, right? So I'm leapfrogging. I have 1, 3, and 5. If I add in seven, that makes it a seven chord. But there's three types of seven chords. There's a major seven, a minor seven, and a dominant seven. The ones that
Mm.
we're used to seeing is a dominant seven chord, and all this does is refer to the positions of the notes. I can explain it to you another time, but um, it's
Yeah.
it's really, it's really simple, It's so there's those, and then if I'm like, oh, okay, this is like if someone wanted to be like play a major seven sharp 13 chord, I'm just like, okay, I know this is a major seven shape right here, and then the 13. If I wanted to find the 13, I could just literally count up the major scale: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's a sharp 13. So it's like that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's just so one. Then it just becomes easy because all those other like chord names and weird stuff. You're like, oh, what does this have in it? Like, what are these notes? Like,
Mm.
it demystifies the whole thing because you're just. It's not that hard. Even as crazy as jazz seems to be and all this stuff, like it's not. Jazz
Yeah.
is hard because what happens is in jazz they switch the scale. Like with every chord, you're switching the scale. So that this whole thing, instead of like pop and rock and everything else, where we're just gonna hang, I'm hanging in C major the whole time. I might have one key change in the song. In
Mm.
jazz, it's like you're shifting that whole thing around the whole time. It's like I'm playing in C, now I'm playing in D, and I'm like shifting the scale for each chord. So it's just like
Oh wow.
complex because the whole thing is kind of moving around. Um, so, but jazz is also cool in a way because they go for it. They play all the wrong notes and they play all the weird notes and like experiment with these flavors and tastes of like what is if I go like you know just like do just weird stuff. How can I experiment using all 12 notes instead of just
Mm.
picking seven? That like because this is like the cheat sheet. Picking the seven notes and playing all the chords that are made with the seven notes. It's just it's easy. We've figured out a mathematical way to just have a cheat sheet basically. But then when you get into jazz, it's like okay, how can we like kind of dance around that and explore with all the other possibilities using 12 notes, right? It's still just 12 notes though, so it's so cool, man. It's so trippy how music is as structure is just it's really just that, it's just that simple. So I recommend.
Nice.
And it's so cool if you want to ever hop on and do, normally Riley, you got some great value today, my man. I won't charge you at all for this lesson at all. Normally I charge $85 an hour, um, but I was just inspired, so we got to do some fun stuff and we got to do a little recording and stuff. So yeah, I'm happy, man, and it made me happy because I got to explain it and this will be some good content too. So it'll be great. But yeah, what this stuff starts. I told you about Splice, and man, if you want to make hip hop beats, I swear, dude. Like, I'll just show you something real quick. Making music in this day and age has never been easier. And if I can play an instrument decently and I can make it sound good, and then I can just understand like what I just shared with you, like, dude, the sky is the limit on just the cool sorts of grooves and sounds you can make. I'm just gonna try to make a beat like as fast as humanly possible. But my computer is a little slow at the moment. It's kind of a lot to. Okay, come on in. It might be too much to run Zoom and do this at the same time. So, uh, but the Splice library, um, they organize everything by tempo and by key. So you're like, oh, cool. Like, I'm gonna pick a bass line in this key, and then I can just go search all the other samples in there, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of samples. Drum loops, like synth, blah blah blah, all these things royalty free, and I can just whip out a beat like in no time at all. And then, if I want to make it sound a little bit more original, I can just throw some of my own guitar on it, like throw some signature stuff that make it sound like me, and then boom, you got a track. Give it to someone to mix and master, throw a couple bars on it. It's quick, man. It's really quick. And then all you got to do is throw it up on DistroKid and put it up on Spotify and then sound the alarm and tell people about it. And a million streams equals $3,000. And you set up a DistroKid account, it throws it up on Spotify. You link your bank account to DistroKid and they pay you. Like I just got paid. I only have like a couple thousand listens on one track, but I got $15. So it's like it's just that easy, man. It is that easy to make music and put it out into the world. And there's no reason that if we have talent, we shouldn't be doing it. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's so real, dude. I'm extremely grateful. You um named earlier. I was also thinking that during this lesson too, that it felt as extremely valuable, and I really appreciate you lending your time, man.
yeah, man.
Um,
If you do want to, I will. You can leave me a tip if you'd like. It's totally up to you. Um,
Mhm.
I just got inspired and we dropped into the flow with it. And so I'll send you my Venmo if you want to, but it's totally up to you, man. This was really enriching for me. Um,
Nice.
so it was fun. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I I probably wouldn't be able to tip you until like next week or so, but I'm definitely down. I definitely want to give you at least something for your time because I got a lot out of it, man. It was very enriching, and I appreciate your teaching style.
Yeah, dude. No problem. Yeah, don't yeah, just if it comes around and it works out, feel free. And don't feel obligated and just you can pay it back, you can pay it forward, however you feel, man. I'm happy to give and want to serve. The best ways that you can serve too are posting in that group, just posting stuff in that group and commenting on other people's stuff. That's great. I don't know if you can see me right now. My computer kind of glitched out, um,
No, I can hear you though.
but yeah, man. And the most way that we can, you know, it makes me happy to be able to explain what I just did for you and to help people demystify music and just make it fun, and put our music out into the world. And you were talking a little bit about, the feeling of like maybe being a little protective of your own work and stuff and just like being independent and stuff. And I think so much of us feel like that as um, kind of novice artists. I think it's a really common thing for people who haven't released a whole lot to feel that way and to feel overly protective of this work. Like, what if it blows up and and someone steals it or something like that, and like and honestly, man, I'm like, I would rather have a song blow up and get stolen and get people to hear it than I would, be tinkering around and like trying to just keep it like locked in and protected and everything. I'm like, just let's have fun. If if something happens and some legal thing happens out there, just write another hit song, dude. We can always there's an infinite wellspring of creativity that we can access all the time, so it's just